Alright YouTubes, in today's video we've got to rectify a bad paint job. It's been proper bodged and all. So it came in, this wing's all dull and flat, and there's a bit of sort of blistering going on in there, and you can see previous filler work and stuff, but it feels okay, and the shaping is actually pretty decent on the repair. So the repair shape wise is pretty decent, but yeah, all the paint dulled and blistered. On this side we've taken the wing off now, but this side, this wing was all crazed on the front edge, all crazed, and again had gone all dull, and yeah, there was like crazing and some blistering around here. So we ground out all the filler, took the bumper off and the headlights out. I had a look, and yeah, it's obviously had a bit of a smag, bit of a whack on that front corner, and yeah, and a nasty crease. So it looks like what they done, they never took the light out, they drilled holes in there to try and maybe get some sort of hook behind to try and pull this out, and yeah, they drilled these massive holes in it. They've done a bit of pulling and beating about around here, and then yeah, got out what they could, and then they just fiberglassed it and then filled it. The shape weren't that bad, but it was hard to tell because all of the paint was really dull, and yeah, you couldn't really tell. So yeah, a couple of nasty repairs, and obviously the guy had this repaired, and he said that, you know, he's had that wing painted a couple of times over the last couple of years, but yeah, it just keeps popping his head up, and that's why, you know, it's pretty rough having to, you know, drill them holes out to pull that out. All it would have took is taking the headlight out, which involves moving the bumper out of the way, but pretty straightforward really. So the bumper's only clipped on mainly, couple of screws, headlight comes out, about half an hour's work, and you could have get behind all that wing, no problem, and it could have been dressed out hammer and dolly. But we, you know, don't know what people's setups and situations like, and we all do things differently, so I ain't knocking them. But yeah, I weren't happy to proceed and repair that wing. I was sort of thinking about welding it up and obviously straighten it out a lot better, panel beating it, but we sort of weighed up the cost of a new wing and how long that would take, and he don't want this to happen again. So yeah, decided, and they weren't too expensive, the new wing, so yeah, customer's gone for a new wing now on this side, so the job's changed a little bit. So yeah, it's both the wings. The bonnet had some sort of cement over it that had dried on it, and yeah, sort of they managed to get it off, but it scratched it and marked it everywhere, so it's in for that to be painted because of that, because just scratching and a few chips, and then obviously blend that door. So yeah, job with a couple of bad repairs, but we're here to rectify it. So Reese has already cracked on with this job, and yeah, I'm just going to get it in primer, get that wing in primer. I'm going to just prime that whole wing, and a little repair on the blend panel. It was a bit sharp, that dent, so we just took care of that. It's no biggie to do that, and yeah, get some primer on it, and then yeah, we'll get it prepped and get it painted. Alright YouTubes, I start this video off with an apology. The sound hasn't come out very well on some of the footage on this. I've had to mess about with the intro, and I'll warn you now, the footage isn't great. I've tried a couple of different things. I've had a bit of trouble with the media mod on my GoPro, sound going in and out, don't know why, but I've got another one, they've replaced it. And yeah, footage wise for the spraying, I tried something different. I used a chest cam instead of a head cam, and yeah, didn't really work that well. So yeah, I warn you now, if you want to switch off, the footage isn't the best for the spraying. Some of it sort of, you can't see what I'm doing, but I did realise at the end, and I put my head cam back on the last coat of clear coat. So if you want to skip to that, go and watch that bit. So yeah, I'm just mixing up the wet and wet now. The job's all in the booth. You see from the intro, had a couple of nasty repairs on there. So yeah, it's all prepped, primed and prepped in the booth, and we're just going to start painting it. So I'm going to wet and wet the new wing, obviously, and sticking a coat of wet and wet over the bonnet as well, just to seal in any little chips that we've filled and stuff like that. It didn't really require the whole bonnet to be primed, so yeah, filled in some chips and stuff with fine filler dolphin glaze, finished the bonnet off in 500 grit, and yeah, just giving it a coat of wet and wet to seal it all in. So the wet and wet I'm using on this job is Mipa F37. They're designated wet and wet, and yeah, just give it one wet coat, get it on there nice and wet, and yeah, get it as smooth as possible. So putting it over that and the wing, I've speeded this footage up because it's crap basically, you can't see what I'm doing. So yeah, coat of wet and wet over the new wing, obviously, one wet coat as normal, and yeah, I like to get the wet and wet all around the backside and stuff like that. You're always going to have a little bit left over, so there's no harm putting a little bit of extra protection on the backs and the backs of the wheel arch and stuff like that. I always try and chuck a bit behind there, and with paint as well. Most panels like wings and that on cars, when they're manufactured and made, they've just got the electrocoat in there. They don't really put any colour or any clear coat or anything like that in there. So I always like to chuck it all around there just to give it a little bit of extra rust protection. So wet and wet's dry. What I normally do when I've got wet and wet on a job, I'll just mix that up and get that on the job, and then to save a little bit of energy, instead of leaving it on spray. It needs about 15 minutes. This F37. It's not the fastest drying wet and wet, and yeah, if you don't let it gas right out, it can cause a little bit of haze in your top coat. I don't put the fastest hardener and thinners in it neither, because it flows out nicer with a bit slower thinner and hardener in it. So yeah, I give it a 15. I put it on the bake cycle for 15 minutes. I put it on the timer for 15 minutes. I just leave it at 30 degrees, so just above your normal spraying temperature, and yeah, put it back on spray, do a little bit of denibbing, and then while that's been drying, I've mixed the base coat up then. So I try to be efficient, where I've always got something to do while I've got coats drying. I don't smoke anymore, so what I used to do is if I was waiting for paint to dry, I'd use a fag as a timer. That by the time I finished smoking a fag, it would be ready for another coat of whatever. But yeah, since I don't smoke now, I'm a bit more efficient with my paint applications. So yeah, that footage was pretty crap, wasn't it? So you can see a bit of it now. So yeah, first coat of base coat, Mipa water base, and yeah, put that first coat on. It's sort of a bit of a lighter coat, not heavy at all. Get that first coat on there, 22-23 degrees spraying temperature, and yeah, get that first coat on there. I even whacked the camera then with a gun. I did find it awkward with that camera on my chest. Yeah, wasn't a good idea, but something I tried anyway. So yeah, get that on there, get that dried out, and then yeah, get the second coat on, which is a sort of a double coat, just coming back on yourself. Get all the flicking out done, get that flicking out done in the blend area, and then move on to the next panel, do the same again. So I treat it panel by panel, get all the coverage in that double coat. You can just put single coats on, so do a half coat, another single coat, dry each coat in between, so it's a normal 2-coat 3-coat system, or you can double it up, get all your coverage on that second application. I find it the quickest, most efficient way, so it's almost like it's a one visit because I haven't left the booth. Like I say, you've got to just dry that first just dry that first coat out and get all your coverage in that second double coat. So yeah, don't sort of leave the booth. They have just bought out, I've looked at the data sheet for it, they have bought out you know, like an additive to turn it into like the one visit, like the glazurate and the standox. You can put an additive into it and it makes it one coat, and it's one coat and a drop coat. You have to use this, you have to use a Satajet, which is handy for me because I've got plenty of those to use. And yeah, they don't recommend any other gun. They recommend a an X5500 HVLP, and they recommend a 1.3i setup, which that's a 1.2i setup I've got on that X5500. But I have got a 1.3 setup, 1.3i setup for it as well. That's how I bought the gun with that. So they recommend to use one of those QMR, so quick material regulators for the Sata, and that's how you apply it. I can't remember the exact settings of how you set that QMR up for this additive that can go into the Mipa base coat. So yeah, like I said, I can't remember the exact settings for it, but basically once you've set the gun up for it, you put one wet coat on, get all your coverage in one coat, and then you click the QMR, which I think it sort of, you know, it will reduce the trigger, your fluid control in one click, and then drop coat it, and that's how you leave it. But I've spoke to the rep about it. He's used it. He doesn't recommend it. He couldn't see any benefit in it. He said it will change colour, and it does say that on the data sheet that colour will be affected by it. And on the data sheet it also says for resprays only, so I can't really see the point of it. But I'm going to get some and give it a go and test it. If it's resprays only, I don't know what it will be like for blending. Like I say, the rep wasn't that helpful about it really. He didn't recommend it, so he said I wouldn't bother trying it, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to get some, I'm going to try it. I thought it may be easy for like for maybe doing bumpers and stuff like that, but I would have to see what effect I'd have to do a bit of testing really and see what effect it has on colour. Maybe mix two amounts of the same colour, one with the additive in and one without, and just see how it lays down and what the colour's like. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what it's like and give it a go. But I like the way it applies like this, sort of bit of a traditional way, almost like solvent base coat. And just here doing the drop coat, and the only difference with this and maybe with solvent base coat is it's 1 bar on the drop coat on this, but it lays down absolutely lovely. The Mipa water base, it's super silky smooth, and it doesn't affect, I never get any pinch back in my, you know, or dye back in my clear coat because of texture in the base coat. If anything, it's normally from maybe wet on wet, but it holds gloss really well, that base coat. So yeah, I've got the QMR anyway, so yeah, I'm just waiting for the additive to come in, and yeah, I'll do a video on it and see what it's like, see what difference it makes, and whether it's worth buying or using on jobs. Apologies again for that footage. As I'm talking over it now, watching it, it's pretty pointless really. Trouble with the chest cams is it's pointing where your body is, and I'm not the tallest of people, so I have to stretch my body out of the way when I'm spraying, especially this, you know, bonnets, and it's a little bit high, this vehicle, for me. So yeah, now I've got the airline dragging in front of it and all sorts, so yeah, apologies for that. But anyway, back to the job. So the clear coat I'm using on this is Mipa CX4, which is their sort of higher end quick dry clear coat, using the HS25 hardener in it, the normal hardener, and that's a 15-minute bake at 60 degrees and dries superb. The gloss is really good on it. For a quick dry, you know, the technology's really moved on now with these quick dry clears. You do have a downside to it where you have
if you've got any polishing to do, that it needs to be done fairly soon after you've baked it and it's cooled, or air dried it overnight. Air dries really well, but yeah, that's the only downside to it. It lays down lovely. It's got really good gloss. You know, I'm really pleased with Mipa. I've had a few teething issues, and you're going to have issues with any paint system, and there's going to be certain parts of that paint system that you're probably not, you know, you're not going to like, and there's going to be other parts of it that you do like. But with this, across the board, I'm pretty much pleased. I use every job is done with Mipa from start to finish here, and yeah, I'm really pleased with most of the products. I haven't got really any complaints about any of the products. The base coat could be a bit finicky with drying, being a pure water system, but you got to, you know, change your procedures from one system to another. But yeah, for the price, I think, you know, I think it's really good. You know, it's not a high-end paint. You know, it's not Standox or Glazurate, so it's middle of the road. So it's, you know, budget friendly, but I'm getting, you know, I can get really good results out of it. And yeah, I can't see the, you know, some of the clear coats and that you see on the high end stuff. And I've used some Standox and I've used Glazurate, you know, not that long ago when I went to a restoration place for a few months over COVID, and we used Standox and Glazurate there, and it's fantastic. The price reflects that as well, you know, the price of those types of clears, the Glazurates and the Standox, and, you know, the Speed Secker and all that. I would outprice myself with my type of customers. So yeah, like, you know, Mipa's, it's, you know, it's not the cheapest, definitely not the cheapest, not on the cheap end, but it's really good value for money. It's reasonable. You know, the price of materials is just going silly anyway, like not just in this trade, all over, and it's the price of everything is just going up and up all the time, innit? So yeah, if I can, you know, do a real good job without having to buy the, you know, the best materials out there, then yeah, it's always an advantage, isn't it? I you know, me personally, I think as long as the products I'm using have got longevity, which they seem to have, I've got a load of Mipa on my vehicle, and I see a couple of other vehicles regular that I've painted, and, you know, 1-2 years in, they're still looking the same. So yes, as long as they've got all the right protection stuff, UV protection and all that, then, you know, if they're a bit cheaper than the high-end ones, as long as they got the longevity as the high-end ones, then I don't see an issue with it. If you're doing warranty work, you know, if you're doing manufacturer warranty work, you know, stuff that's warranted, you know, from factory, then yeah, I understand you having to use a certain mate using Glazurate on BMWs and Porsches and you know, stuff like that. I can understand that as a warranty point of view. So yeah, I don't really know why I'm waffling on about this, but I suppose the point of it is you don't have to spend a fortune to get high-end results. It's down to lots of factors, isn't it? Your repairs, your prepping, your environment, all sorts, and using it all right, I suppose, using it in the right way. And yeah, you have to adapt to your environment, and also there's different types of work out there, so you have to adapt to budgets as well. It depends where you are. I don't even know what I'm talking about, to be honest with you. I don't know, I've gone down this rabbit hole, but yeah, all I'm saying basically is you can still, you know, achieve good results with cheap materials. You don't have to have the best materials, but it depends on the job that you're doing, I suppose. I suppose one downside to cheaper materials is the longevity, I suppose. But anyway, so that's it. That's all the clear coat on there. That last coat of clear coat was done with a normal camera, and obviously come out a lot better. I didn't get an end results slow-mo footage on this one. I forgot to record it, and I've just made a bit of a pig's ear of this whole video, to be honest with you. So there we go. I'm only human. Makes a change, doesn't it? Something a bit different, I suppose. And yeah, well, I think I'll leave it at that before I embarrass myself anymore. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and hope you enjoyed it, even though the footage was crap and I waffled on a bit. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you again soon. Right, on YouTube, that's the Subaru all finished, polished, finished, and ready to go. So I'll give you a quick look, and yeah, come out okay. Colour's pretty decent to the pillar, and yeah, obviously we blended it. Didn't have any issues with it. Bonnet's come out nice, and again this wing all blended in nice. Colour looks alright. Happy with the finish as well. It come out well, and yeah, that was Mipa CX4, so it's quick dry, and yeah, it does lay on nice. It's got a decent gloss, and it's really handy for you know, if you want jobs to be quick drying, and yeah, it's a real decent clear coat. You know, the speed of the drying, it doesn't solvent pop. It's got really good gloss on it. There's a couple of quick dries that they do, CX2 and CX4. CX2's cheaper, and it's decent, and it matches production finishes, and yeah, it's really good. The drying times are about the same. The CX4s are just a little bit nicer finish you can get out of it, and it's a bit of a better gloss. So yeah, I do prefer using the CX4. You just got that short polishing window, that's all. You just got to make sure you nib it within the first couple of days, nib it and polish it within the first couple of days, because after that it's really hard to nib, and it's really hard to polish. But yeah, you just got to sort of work it to the situation, really. That's why I use different clear coats depending on the application, you know, how long the job's going to be here, the type of finish I'm looking for, and yeah, and I'm always conscious of the polishing window. So yeah, if it's a job that's going to be here for a little while after being painted, if it's got a lot of fitting up and stuff like that, I won't use it in that situation. But yeah, if you've got something that needs to be fitted up quickly, and it's real good for that. Bumpers especially, I use it on bumpers and that all the time, CX2 and CX4, because it after a short bake and let it cool down, you can handle it really well, and it's minimises the risk of it marking and scratching. So yeah, it's good for those types of situations. Job sort of grown a little bit after pulling all that filler out on that wing, and yeah, it wasn't a very nice repair that had been done on it. Yeah, it's not something I would do, is drill massive holes in the panel to try and pull it out. Sometimes you do have to drill maybe a hole here and there, but yeah, you would definitely rectify that hole before you start repairing it. But yeah, we're all different, we all do things differently.
And yeah, I wasn't too happy about trying to repair that wing, being a bolt-on panel. There was all rust happening, and yeah, and he obviously had issues because of that. The filler was relatively thick, and yeah, he'd had it painted a couple of times. So yeah, I think it was the best option just to put a new wing on there, and you know, it'll have guarantee now that you know, he's not going to have that issue again. And yeah, all come out all right. So yeah, thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and we'll see you again in the next one. Look after yourselves. Cheers.